Hey there. I've got a lot of time on my hands, and I'm going to do something that I've had friends ask me over the years to do for a long time, and that is to explain how I make certain recipes. Um, I've had some little cooking classes in my home, and can't fit many in my tiny kitchen, so it's had to keep it small. But today I thought, well, I can reach some of you that have asked me to do this, and we can put it on video. So Sam's helping me record this. I want to make today some biscotti. A lot of people have the misconception that biscotti is difficult. It's not difficult. It's super easy. You don't even need a mixer. It's just a little bit more time consuming than a regular cookie. So we're going to get started. This is my almond anise biscotti recipe, and because a lot of people don't care for anise, I'm going to alter it and make some cranberry orange, maybe some white chocolate, toasted almonds in here. So the first thing we're going to do is you're going to pour melted butter in your mixing bowl that's been cooled, because you don't want it to cook the egg when you add it. And then you're going to add sugar. And if you want the recipe later, I'll give it to you. So don't worry about amounts right now. But it calls for 1.5 cups of sugar. This is a 1/2 cup measure, so I'm just going to do it 3 times. So 1.5 cups of sugar. And eggs, it calls for 3 eggs. I've already cracked 2 in the bowl. I'm going to crack the 3rd one. Okay, dump that in there. That's my 3 eggs. Calls for some extract. I'm going to do, this is actually butternut, and I made it. It's vanilla, almond, and it's a tablespoon, and butter, vanilla, almond, and butter seasoning. So I just thought it would be good in here. Butternut's kind of one of those odd seasonings. I think our grandmothers used them a long time ago. I never heard of it until I saw it in a recipe, and I looked it up, and it's actually very expensive to buy online. I don't know why. The good brands anyway. So we have the eggs, the sugar, the melted butter, the extract. So we're going to mix that. Sugar, eggs, melted butter, and extract. You don't have to beat it to death, just get everything mixed in. Okay, now we're going to add our dry ingredients, and it calls for 3¼ cups of flour. So there's 1¼ I did some pre-measuring just to save some time. There's 2¼ There's 3¼ Calls for a tablespoon of baking powder. Three-fourths teaspoon of salt, which I've already measured out, and it's stuck. Oh, there we go. And the butter, by the way, is unsalted butter. So you can add the amount of salt you want in a recipe. If you use salted butter and then you add salt, you're going to have a really salty cookie. So yeah, we just stir that in. And then after we stir this in, we're going to add our other ingredients. When I make anise almond biscotti, I just throw in some almonds that have been toasted and chopped. I like the slivered almonds. I get them at Trader Joe's. They cut better, you know, unless you have a super good knife and you try to cut biscotti after it's baked, the nuts will just rip through it, and I just can't stand it when it does that. So anyway, we need about 1 cup, here's my cup, of toasted almonds. Okay, I thought I would add some cranberries. Oh, I just remembered my my orange peel. This actually should have gone in with the other wet stuff, but it'll work. Okay, and I'm debating on white chocolate chips. So I'll add a few, even though I'm not crazy about chocolate chips in biscotti at all. So you mix this in. I'm gonna mix it extra well. You don't normally have to mix it like crazy, but because I dumped that orange rind in at the end instead of in the middle, I'm gonna mix it well. So there. So now the biggest challenge with biscotti is the sticky dough. Some doughs aren't very sticky and they're rather dry, but this one, which is one of my favorite recipes, tends to be on the sticky side. And so I kind of mix it up in the center of the bowl like this, get it away from the side. And I'm gonna bring, well, I'll leave that cookie sheet over there. So now you want to flour your hands really well. I cut myself yesterday, that's why the Band-Aid, so I'm just gonna have to get it in here. And so what I do, you want 3 logs. So I'm gonna cover my hands with flour like this. Whoop, there goes a chip. And so that's about 1 log. Get your other hand with flour. I have the board under here, I can work with it. You don't need a board, you could do this on your cookie sheet too. This one might be a little bit big, I'm gonna take a piece off. Okay, good floured hands help this to not stick too much. And then we're gonna bring it over here. Let's leave it this way. Have a cookie sheet with some parchment paper on it. I like this better than greasing. It just works better. You do not want these logs sticking to your sheet. There. So you just kind of don't press it down too much. Shape it into a log. We're going to go back over, flour our hands again. That's going to be a smaller log. I can tell I didn't do this evenly, but that's no big deal. Roll it out. Okay. Set it on the cookie sheet, press it down a little bit. This big bowl is my zoreki. It's Greek Easter bread. It's rising. You can see the dough ball. It needs to rise for another couple hours, and I'm going to shape some braided loaves. Maybe I can show you how to do that another time. Okay, so this is my last log. Scrape it up. Get your hands floured. Scrape, scrape. There we go. Flour my other hand again. You're real gentle with it. You're not really pressing hard. You don't want to overwork the dough. There, that's a good log. Okay, Sam, I'll move the this cookie sheet over there as soon as I clear off my space. You might lift it up, the camera up a little bit. Okay, so these are our 3 logs. Now, what really makes these look nice when they're finished is if you brush them with beaten egg white. And so I just put an egg white in a dish and I whip it up. And I really misjudge, you can tell, but it doesn't matter. These logs are not the same size. And then you brush your loaves, because you really don't want them floury looking, you know, when we put flour on our hands. So it gets rid of the flour, and it puts a nice shine on these when they bake. And sometimes the egg white will stick a little bit to the paper and make the logs stick, but it's easy enough if you're just careful to pull it up. So there we go. So those are ready to be baked at 350 for about 30 minutes. We're going to bake them till they're nicely browned and not doughy inside. because when we cut them, we want them to look done inside, but we're gonna double bake them, cut them in. So there they go in my oven. Ignore my dirty oven. There we go, 30 minutes. We'll come back when they're coming out and I'll show you what to do next. Hi, we're back. So the biscotti baked for about 30 minutes and it's nicely browned, maybe a little browner than it needs to be, but it's fine. We're going to, I let it cool for about 5 minutes just for it to firm up. You're going to carefully lift it off the sheet. I want to show you something though. Sometimes your logs grow together, bake together. Just take a knife and go like that so you can peel it. And lift it carefully so you don't crack the loaf in half. And I wanted to tell you, the cranberries I put in, I chopped first, okay? The nuts were chopped, the cranberries were chopped, the white chocolate chips were not. So I have 3 knives here, and I usually use this one. But you need a good serrated knife. This one I bought at Costco, it's Cutco, it cost me like $90, and I thought, oh, this is gonna be the best biscotti knife. And I really don't know that it's superior to either of those. But anyway, so you can slice it whatever thickness you like. This is standard right there. You can, I've been in restaurants where I've got biscotti that was actually sliced like that. But anyway, I like to slice it about like this. Something you have to be careful of is not ripping the sides of the biscotti apart when you're sawing through it. So see how it wants to give way? Just do it carefully, okay? So I'm going to saw and kind of hold the edges. This is, like I said, you need a good knife. So sometimes I go, well, I don't know if that's working too well for me. So this is the one I've used for years, and I think it actually works better than that $90 knife, but I'm sure I'll find some kind of good use for that one. But right now I'm gonna stick to the old standard here. So I'm cutting these up, and you know, you gotta be careful because when you're cutting, that's why I cut the cranberries up. If you've got whole cranberries in there, they tend to rip out just like a whole nut would, and then it doesn't look pretty, and I like what I make to be pretty besides taste really good. So you get a loaf cut, and usually what I do is I take it like this, and I just bring it over and lay them out. Grab 3 or 4 at a time, kind of stack them like that. I think I'll take 3 here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. You can put the ends on there if you want to, and then brush this off, and then you go to your next loaf and you do the same thing. Cut it. And you may find after it's cooled a little longer, it cuts easier. Some biscotti recipes, after they've cooled too long, they crumble. So you have to be really careful and, you know, just make sure, do what the recipe says. This recipe, you let it cool for, you know, 5 or 10 minutes. Okay, so I'm cutting through the biscotti, and once you get it all cut, it baked on 1 cookie sheet. It's going to bake a second time on 2 cookie sheets. So you need to have a second cookie sheet ready. Yeah, let's see, where was I on that? So we'll finish cutting this log. Just be careful. It's really frustrating when it rips off, you know, on the ends there. Okay, so let's see. So we're gonna go like this, like this, like this. And I don't think you can see it maybe on the film, but this biscotti has a nice color, shiny top on it, and that's from the egg white that we brushed on it. So now we're gonna put it in the oven, one on the top shelf, and when we finish this one, we'll put this one on the bottom. You keep it in the oven for, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. Wow, I made these kind of thick, to be honest with you, but that's okay. And then you take them out of the oven and you change, put the top rack on the bottom. But before you do that, I like to, I saw you sneak that, Sam. I like to turn them over. So we're gonna take them out of the oven, we're gonna turn them over, and then put them back in, just so they brown evenly. it's not absolutely necessary that you do that, but I like to with this recipe. I have another recipe that has cinnamon on top. And on that recipe, after you sprinkle cinnamon on, like right now I would be sprinkling the cinnamon, I'm not going to turn those over. You don't want to have the sugar cinnamon topping baking on the underside. So some biscotti recipes require you to turn them and some don't. But anyway, we're carefully cutting through this, and I'm just wondering, yeah, that's baked well. See, it's nice and done. I mean, you could eat it like that. This is cooked. But biscotti is a Latin term, and it means twice baked, and so that's why we're cooking it again. But I've had people tell me that they actually like biscotti only cooked once. So that's fine, but you can't call it biscotti if you're going to eat it without cooking it twice. So we do this. Lay them out. There we go. I'll just leave the ends. Sam usually eats the ends. And I'm going to put this in my oven. Don't mind my slippers. I'm comfy here in my own house. Okay, so I'm going to set the timer for about 10 minutes. And then I'm going to switch shelves. And I'm going to but turn them over first, put them back in, and then I'm going to take them out. And they will be finished. We'll come back when that happens. Bye. Hey there, we're back. The biscotti has baked and it's finished. As you can see, one pan is a little lighter than the other. I'm going to blame this on my friend Lori because she called me while I was baking this. Just kidding. It's still good. Anyway, what I do after I've baked it, I don't know why, this is just a habit. When I don't want it to brown anymore, then I set them all up like this, and they cool faster if you do this. And you can wrap these up in little plastic bags that you get from Michael's or Joanne, and put a little ribbon around them and gift them to people. They make great gifts. This is my biscotti jar over here. As you can see, I'm getting low, so that's what made me think of making some more. I keep that jar filled, and these keep in there and taste perfectly fine for like 3 weeks, maybe longer. So they're great to have if somebody pops in or you want to have someone over and you don't want to bake. Anyway, I am happy to share the recipe if you want it, or any other biscotti recipe that I have. But this is it. Let them cool completely before you wrap them up or put them away. They freeze well, so you know, put them in the freezer if you don't want to leave them, you know, on the counter forever. They freeze really well. Just double wrap them. Okay, so I hope this cleared things up for those of you who wanted my biscotti recipe. I'm thinking of Alicia. She came over one day and we made biscotti together last year, and we had a good time, and that's what made me think to do this, because she had been asking and other people had been asking, and I started to feel really bad that I hadn't invited the rest of you over to do this. So there, I did it. Okay, enjoy. Bon appetit. Ciao. Bye.